Hey everybody, this is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs. This is another episode. Today's special guest is Grant Dugan. Dugan or Deegan? I guess I'll find out once the episode starts. Some of you might have seen him on the live stream to the Amherst show up in Massachusetts that we had. He joined the live stream and silently and patiently listened through everybody, and then messaged me and said, "Can I get a turn and to show you my layout?" And he's from Australia, so this is the furthest episode guest I've ever talked to so far for this show, and he models an Australian layout, which he showed in the live stream, and I thought it looked pretty cool. Not knowing much about Australia, obviously, and their vehicles and their models or whatnot, it looked pretty neat how he modeled it. And I'm happy that he's finally getting his own episode. So without further ado, stay tuned because he'll be right in. Right, it looks like it's recording. Hey everybody out there, this is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs. This is Halfass Presents, the podcast. Today's special guest is Grant Djung. I was wrong on the monologue. I said Djung or D1. It's Djung. Grant Djung. He's all the way from the other side of the world, and I'm glad that we finally got to talk to him. So, Grant, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this hobby?
Okay, so I was born and bred in Sydney, Australia. My dad's Chinese. He met my mum in 1965. He was corresponding. He was a sailor on an oil tanker. And then he decided to marry my wife, my mum. And then he married in 1966, and I was around late 1960s, and we stayed in Sydney. So that's how I came. But anyway, when I was a little boy, I used to chuck a tantrum in front of newsagents because I didn't get my Matchbox cars. So I wanted the Matchbox cars. So this would be, the Matchbox cars would be in the window. There were probably 40 cents or whatever it was, but I used to jump up and down, and I've still got some of those Matchbox cars. And
wow.
I started in my Matchbox then, because I think we're still a British part of Britain, still that affiliation. But that's when I started collecting cars. And then I got into model railway, and I like the model railway, but actually like the little cars. So I remember going to the hobby shop, and then I saw these Viking ones, and look, man, there was, that $2.50, which seemed like a lot then. I saved up my pocket money to get those when I was in my 9 or 10. That's when I started getting those little ones. I only had a few, probably 10 of them. So then I got into that. I still have model railway on the side, but I always wanted to have, it was just an excuse to have the cars. When you're growing up, you don't have money. So when I was in my teens, I didn't bother. I was chasing girls and all that stuff. But I went backpacking in Europe. I went backpacking in Europe, and then, everyone was touring around doing the sites, but I was in Germany, and I stumbled across these model train stores that were secondhand. They had all these Viking and Herpa and Burkina. They were just secondhand ones. I'm like, oh man, there's only one or two Deutschmarks or whatever. This is a bargain. So I actually, while all I did was for my 3 months back in my mid-20s was actually, I was actually just going to hobby, looking up the yellow pages, finding where the hobby store were, and just go to all the hobby stores in Berlin and Cologne and Munich, and just went to all those and just
That's great.
started buying all these ones with secondhand. I mean, they were just because they were cheap, and I thought, I can't get them back home. We don't have them, so I started getting back into it then, and I think what I started collecting. Australia doesn't have. You still get the models, but you still get the models here. But it's some Australians. There's not many brand. There's only a white middle one called Wyco, but there's not many because the market's small. So we've had to use American and European ones and sort of modify them to look like what we get, the close one that looks like what we were driving around here.
Right.
So therefore that's how I got into the hobby. Yeah. And
Well,
I got rid of
that's
some
pretty
of my
neat.
yeah.
That's it's crazy because now with the technology of 3D printing, as long as you know somebody or you know of somebody that can make you the design and that has a printer, if you don't have one, you can get almost every car out there in Australia you want, as long as somebody draws up the CAD for it.
Well, I did do that. So I got my first Chrysler Valiant, which is it's sort of like it's like the Plymouth Valiant, the one that's in dual. There was a later model. We modeled one on that, and then we did another design after that. And that's one that I wanted because I'm doing a 70s. I'm doing my childhood in the 70s. So so I got one done, but I had to pay a guy in India US $50 to do it. And then I said, can you do a ute and can you do a I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to pay $150 or whatever. So I haven't found out. I want to get a coupe and a ute and a wagon. I want to get the whole thing so I can put it on my car, like my car carrier. So I'm going to have a car carrier with all the thing coming out of the factory. So that's what I was wanting to do.
That's a neat idea. That a lot of people seem to do that. Like my buddy, he seems to model every single version of that same car. Like if it was a Chrysler, he'd model every single Chrysler that came out of that year. And I know a lot of other people do that too. So it's pretty neat that you're doing, and it's pretty neat that you're doing the 70s, because I can imagine doing a 70s scene from Australia isn't probably the easiest thing you can do. You could probably get more modern stuff and make it a lot more easier, but 70s stuff, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, so a lot of people do country because they don't like to do buildings. So there isn't a lot of, so it's country, and they do a wide like 50s to 70s, but country. So you can get away with a couple of cars, but you don't need a lot of 70s cars. Whereas I wanted the 70s cars because I was brought up with that era, and I really like those big cars that shoot up a lot of gas. Right. And we used to go holidaying in a state in our Holden Kingswood station wagon, which is probably like your Chevrolet Caprice. That was, and it had the wind down back window, the flip down tailgate. We just had a mattress in the back, and well, that was our holiday. That was what we do. Go up the coast, go to the beach.
Wow.
That's
wild. I had a Chevy 1963 Impala, which is full-size Chevy for 63. And same thing, the roll down back window, the tailgate that come down. And I was 17. I wanted to go from California to New York in that car and just sleep in the back. But that car was a piece of junk. It would have never made it out of the state, much less across the country. I never did it.
Yeah. So I think what I like about this hobby is I can't have 15 cars or whatever you want. I finally was able to buy. I was finally able to get permission to. Well, I don't think I actually didn't ask. I actually got a real one-to-one Chrysler Royal. It's not the same as the Dodge Royal 50, but I got an Australian one. It uses the Dodge Kingsway, sort of. It's like that, but we did an Australian production. So I actually got that 2 years ago. But I finally got my dream of getting an old car. But the good thing about what I like about this scale is it fits in your model railway, and it's really small, and that's really good. I mean, there's bigger scales, 143, and they got more cars, but I just don't have the real estate to put enough.
Right. Yeah, you look at your display in the back of you, and you have a whole entire downtown city compared to if you had a bigger scale, you would have one building, two buildings in that same thing that you have behind you. So you have so much more room and so much more space to put this scale behind you than something bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes things a lot nicer when you can fit smaller stuff that allows you to have a lot more detail in it. Because the bigger you go, the less room you have, and it just it doesn't work.
So how many cars do you think it could have if you had 143? You can't put a lot. It would just look too, and then you won't have anything else to I suppose, to complement it. You need the buildings, you need the scenery to complement that, and it just will fill out of balance. It's just like the same as same with me, with people who do model railroad and put heaps of track, and there's absolutely nowhere for any scenery, and
right,
that's just my opinion. But
you and me both. I share that same problem. I cannot stand when I see somebody put track on every single inch or millimeter of the layout, and there's no room for roads, no room for scenery, no room for buildings. It's just track. It's like a train yard. Like they have a whole train set just for 1 yard, and you're like, that's ridiculous. It drives me crazy when I see that.
So, and one thing, I go to train shows, and one thing that does annoy me is you got the trains, and you got the nice scenery, but then there's some oversized Hot Wheels car that's sitting there that doesn't even fit the same era. Like it's got a 9, it's a 9. I don't know. It's an era, and it's got some Jaguar that we never actually had there in Australia, or like one in, they didn't import, and it looks too. It doesn't, where you just got to have the cars that were in that era, and that's what I think that really spoils it. Just it doesn't fit in. So
Well, I think that's probably the issue with smaller countries, like say New Zealand, Australia, probably a lot of the Philippines, and maybe even Japan. That the cars that are manufactured out there are in such small quantity compared to the United States or the United Kingdom or Europe, where it's so much bigger that so many more cars can be out there, that on your little countries, that to get the cars that you see today or the cars that you saw, back in the 70s, the manufacturers are probably like, there's not enough people into this hobby worth making all these little cars for. Is what I would think.
So you can get almost every single Beetle version you can, but if you want I don't know, like some sort of Austin thing that you had here, you'd be lucky if you find one or something. They start to bring out, but it's just, I think that's the good thing about. I mean, I had the opportunity to my wife. We actually got to live in Europe, which was another dream, in 2006 for 5 years.
Oh wow!
So the best thing was to actually go to all the model stores and actually go and find all these little cottage industry guys who actually made these little resin kits.
Right.
And I was able to pick up. I mean, the shows were just. I went to a couple of the shows, and there were massive halls on this stuff, and it's just unbelievable. I just I don't know what the shows are like in the US, but I just was blown away. Ones in Germany, but I was able to find these little cottage industry ones, and I was able to collect those. I still got a whole bunch of them. I haven't built probably British cars, which we did get, and a couple of more the British, just odd ones that we didn't get. I actually found my dad's old car, which was a Toyota Corona. So
Wow.
This is it. The only thing I haven't done is a number plate, but that's it. It's a Toyota Corona. And the thing is, he bought it in his '66, and because he was a sailor, he knew Japanese quality was really good because he bought a whole bunch of he bought a camera and a reel-to-reel, cassette things, those big massive reel-to-reel. He bought one of those in Japan because he was a sailor, and he bought that car, and it was his first car. And
that's neat.
Little by know that 10 years later, the Japanese market, 10 years later, the Japanese cars were just, people were just buying them like left, right, and center. But at the time, people were like, what do you got this little crappy Japanese car? Well, they've got these Holdens and stuff.
Well, I don't know about the Australia market, but I know in the 70s that America had a gas shortage. And depending on your license plate or depending on your driver's license, you could go either other day to get gas. And then that's when the Japanese market flooded America, because you could go 300 miles on a tank of gas when an American car probably only go 200 miles.
So we had the same thing, odds and even numbers. We had odds and evens on different days. So we had the same thing, the gas shortages, and we did have an Australian car after that Toyota Corona, because my dad wanted a station wagon, and there was no station wagons in the Japanese car, so he bought a Holden, which we had good memories. But that's what but that was, I think, after he got that was when the oil of the 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I see on YouTube that Australia has a big classic car culture out there. They're buying a lot of American classics and shipping them out that way. And the Australian classic car scene is very strong. I love that.
Yeah. No, and definitely. And I mean, this is going back to our GM pulled the plug on Holden, which is quite sad for me, especially because I'm a Holden guy, GM guy when I was growing up. So yeah, I'm a GM guy more than a Ford, and it was quite sad. But those Holdens have gone up in value because of that, and because they're not going to make them anymore, and
right.
It's the end of an era. So definitely true. So and I love going to American. Probably my favorite. If your favorite, I've got too many to name. But my favorite is probably the mid 50s to early 60s, and the muscle cars of the late 60s, 70s. So they're my favorite eras for cars. So when I go to I did have the opportunity with a mate to go to do Route 66. We did it in 10 days. I think I mentioned it. But I went to 6 car shows and a whole bunch of, probably 3 or 4 museums along the way. But I was just blown away by the stuff that we don't see here. You got your Nomads, your two-door wagons and your Woodies and stuff that we never have. We only got the 4-door sedans, and I think that's really in the hobby. The manufacturers make 2-door coupes, but they never make 4-door sedans. The everyday Joe, not everyone bought the coupes or the hard tops or the convertible. It's really annoying in that way because we never had it, but most people. Yeah.
Right. I love the 1959 through 1960 GM vehicles, all the four doors, not all the four doors, some of the four doors had a flat top roof, and the
Yep,
flat
yep,
top roof had the hard top, so there was no post in between the windows.
yep.
And in my opinion, that flat top roof for a four door is the best roof design you could have ever made for a classic car, and I love it. And it's so sad that a lot of people didn't like it back then because they didn't make a whole ton of them. They made a good amount, but they're disappearing like crazy, and that sucks because I really like that flat top roof. I love it.
Yep. No, it's just some of those designs are just iconic, you know, and you know, I think you know, I struggle to find any nice, you know, when you try and buy a card these days, you're going, they all the same and they all got the same thing, you know. It's just like, man, it's not that interesting, no styling, and
Right.
I just find it really hard just to look, and I'm not just not interested. Yeah, it's just not, it's not nice to look what it was compared to what it
No,
was, even
exactly.
even in the 80s and you know, even those times, early 90s. But yeah, it's just not
We
much.
we went to Europe, I think 4 years ago now, and we're doing a castle. Um, we saw four castles in one day, so we did like this tour, and we were driving ourselves, but we had the route, and we did the whole tour, four castles one day, and we were driving through this little tiny town, and they had a car show in the middle. I didn't even know. It just we got into it by accident, and I really love seeing that because it showed like all over the world there's car people. And even though I don't care for those cars, it was neat to see that those people really had a passion. They really decked them all out. They lowered them with air ride system, and they did everything they could, to make their car uh, their own version of it. And it was really cool to see because growing up out here, you're pretty isolated in America for classic cars and custom cars. It's like where it all started. So not going to different countries to see car shows or museums or whatever, you don't really see how the influence is affecting those other countries. So it's really neat to see that these guys had the same passion we do for their own version.
Well, I know in Germany they've actually got a lot of American car following. I was there. I mean, when I was living there, I would just try to search what, you know. I'll go to a town where we're holidaying. You know, you go for the weekend because it was so close. I just look up where the nearest car show and trying to find where those things. And there's a really good following, and that's what I do when I travel now. Is not to see, you know, the castles or the churches. I mean, or whatever thing. I get to try and find where there's the nearest museum or car show and just try and tell that into the thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and weave that in. Um,
Well, we went to Germany, and I went to the BMW museum factory, and I didn't really care for
yeah,
BMW. It just happened to be we were in that city, and that was the only thing there for me to look at that day. So we go there, and there, I guess it's right next to where they had the one of the Olympic Games or
yeah, yeah,
something,
yeah,
because
yeah,
like
yeah,
right
yeah,
across the
yeah.
street is
Yeah.
yeah. And in that museum, they had some BMWs I'd never even heard of. I'd never even seen before in my life. And that was really cool because I'd never seen them. All the other stuff I seen all over the world and all on the internet, but those cars, I was like, wow, those are really neat. I really like these maybe five cars in the whole museum I cared about. The rest I didn't care.
That's like the museum that's in oh, where's it? It's in Napa Valley. In where, it's a really posh one in California.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
Just outside San Francisco, and I saw it was a thunder, like a prototype Thunderbird or a one of those things, and it was just like the Peterson thing. And I saw that the one with the hydro. It's like
Oh, the
it's
jet
really good to
engine?
see them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
see them you see them in the model, and okay, yeah, that makes them. But when you see it in real life, to see a Duesenberg or something that's just, it's just like, man, it's just unbelievable. It's just like seeing a work of art. It's just, I could just stare, I was just looking, I was just staring for ages, going, oh man, it's unbelievable.
Well, I would myself really like to go to Australia one time and see, like, going through maybe like a major car show weekend. I think you guys have in Sydney or somewhere out there like a Back to the 50s car show every year, and it's really big.
So there's one for 3 days, 4 days actually. I'm going to take my son up on the Gold Coast. Now the Gold Coast is like Miami, okay? It's nice hot weather. You know, there's condominiums and stuff, but this part's actually a bit like it's where retirees go, same thing. But I'm going for 4 days, and it's called Coolies on the Rocks. So there's actually, if you're interested, there's actually one in June, which is this June long weekend, but there's another one in October called Chrome Fest in the Central Coast.
Oh.
There's another one called Curry 50s, another 50s fair, which is in March. So last year that Chrome Fest hadn't was because of COVID, wasn't on. But they're the main three that I'm aware of. There's other car shows, other,
right.
But if you're looking for 50s ones, there, because I get dressed up in that. I do the whole.
Oh, me too. The hat.
I wear glasses, and I actually got from the States one of those Buddy Holly glasses. I thought I'm going to go as I'm going to wear glasses, but like I'm going to go as a nerd because I've got the glasses. And
look, I mean, there was two kinds of looks back in the 50s. It had like the greaser look or that like bookworm look, and they kind of shared the same. Like you had the button up shirt and the jean pants with the shirts tucked in. You might have had overalls or you might have had a belt, but it's almost the same look, just different hair, and depending on your attitude.
So back to influences of models, but also in the 50s. One thing that actually sort of made an influence, is the movie La Bamba back in 1987. I was 20 or something, but I didn't wear glasses at the time, and people thought I looked like him. Looked like Richie Valens. So
Diamond Lou Phillips.
Lou Diamond Phillips. I actually felt I actually sort of had I got affiliation. I mean, it's a really sad story because both of those guys, they were legends in their music, but they just died really young.
Right.
But that movie actually sort of influenced my interest in the 50s. And it's just every time it's February 3rd, I just feel really upset. I just hear the podcast of the whole the whole plane crash, and I'm just I'm just upset with that whole thing. But it's just that I don't know. I just that affiliation, and both Buddy was he was quite nerdy in a way, and I just
he was.
I really like that part, of So that's sort of it's go.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, we have we didn't have, but a girl from Mexico got very popular in Mexico, and then branched out to English songs. Her name was Selena, and she died at a really young age too, just like Buddy Holly and just like Richie Valens. And you think like they have so much talent and their career could go so far, and it just cut way too soon. It is sad.
Yeah, exactly. So I know those are the sort of influences of I don't know. It's influences in the 50s, but but it was also played out in the hobby. So
looking at the background, your layout, it looks really cool. Just even you sitting in front of it and just seeing what we can see. I mean, you you seem to know what you're doing when you made it, which is good. It's not cluttered, and it looks like it's well thought out.
Well, I've cheated here because I've actually got my cars that I actually like. I've sort of I put a roadshow here, but basically, I think I looked. But this is we got married. I looked everywhere to work out what car I got married in, but I got married in a Cadillac. So that's a Athen Cadillac, and it was a resin one that I found in Germany. So that's just the difference. But
the resin one's way better.
Exactly. So that was the resin kit, and I actually used what's it called? What's that chrome paper thing again?
Oh, bare metal foil?
Yeah, bare metal foil. So I did bare metal foil on that. So yeah. So it was actually pink, but the guy sold it and they made it white and cut the roof off, which was really, because I'm a purist. So I wanted actually the roof. I didn't want it to be a four-door. But yeah, that we got married in a. I looked everywhere, and that's what I wanted to get married in. So that's
awesome.
So that's my Cadillacs, and my first car that I got that I actually could afford to buy new was a Mazda 121. They don't have those in America, but that's what I had. And I used to go surfing, so I had a surfboard on top. But that's the color. I showed you my dad's car, which is also I've just got to get the number plate because I found a picture of the number plate. That's a RPM 87 kit that I got.
Oh, nice.
So that's the same color. Unfortunately, the silver. I remember the silver paint didn't last a couple of years, and I had to get repainted because Australia's summer sun is so bad, and the Japanese paint quality was last. So what else I can show you? When I travel anywhere, I try and find some stuff. So when I was in Japan, I found these white metal Japanese. They don't make them anymore. And every time I go to Japan, I try and find these secondhand stores and find it's called model plan. Yeah, but because Japanese cars in our scale is so hard to find. It's just really.
It makes you wonder why. You know, Japan probably models this scale, so why are the cars so hard to find? Why didn't they make more of them?
No, they don't. They actually model 180, and so they model 180, not 187. What? It's really annoying. This is the only one. This is a Datsun 510. We call it Datsun 1600, but yeah. Oh, these aren't kits I built. These are things I've
collected.
I did some modifications on one of these, which so this is my 50s. This is a Holden 48.
I like that one. This is the
first Holden. What I did was I put a sun visor. I put fender cover. You know what do you call fender covers on them?
Yeah.
And I put blinds at the back.
That's really cool. I like that one a lot.
That's my. It's the deluxe version with all the accessories you got.
Right. Yeah. You went all out on that one.
I went all out on that one, and then this one I've made it into a taxi. So that, and I made my own decals and made it into a taxi. But what I try and do is I try and Australianize my models. I've actually swapped over the steering wheel over to the right. I've done that. I've done that on this one, yeah. So this is a Kibra kit, and I've actually put the guy on the right, chucked the steering wheel on that side to yeah. So that's a kit. That's like a what do you call trackway maintenance.
Oh, okay.
This is custom built, and then I've just extended the chassis. Usually it's Japanese truck, they don't make, so I've done that. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about this scale is it's so small that you can put the steering wheel on the right side of the car or the left side, and there's so little detail in the dash. There's no way to know that it wasn't supposed to be that way, anyways.
Exactly. So you just paint the dash a bit, so you can't just blur it. So because
Yeah.
you're not going to worry about having little instruments and stuff. You're not going to worry about that bit. You just have the
Right.
steering wheel, so you can just do that. So I try and do that. What else I've got here? Oh, we had the famous Flexi clippers here as well. So this is a kit, but I've had wipers. This was a resin metal, white metal kit. So this top's resin, but the bottom and all the other bits white metal. Yeah.
Wow.
So we had
That's
these.
nice.
We had these in Australia. So yeah, and they were used by the airline company. And so I've got another one, Ansett one, but also which is like a Southwest Airlines or something like that. It was like a local airline, and this is like a Greyhound. So
That's
yeah,
nice bus.
What else I've got? Oh, I've also strainized this. Well, this is a Ford Trans truck that was like a white metal kit, but then this is from another kit, and I actually wanted it into a petrol tanker for my 50s layout. So yeah, and try to add some details there. A bit of windscreen wipers and I don't know the things there. Yeah. So I mean,
It's nice to see that you're customizing some of them, even though they're little tiny, customizations that you're doing. You're still doing them, and a lot of people they'll just collect the car and maybe paint it, but they won't do nothing to the body to change it. And at least you're doing a little bit of things here and there to change it up to make it look a little better. That's really nice. That's really cool.
I did this as well. So this is an old Viking Bedford bottom bit. I threw away the top, and then I just put this. This is an old Ritza. What do you mean, camper thing? So I did that. The only thing annoying with this is the fact that the door's on the wrong way. I haven't cut the door the other way.
I've noticed that. I have that same camper, but I customized it and changed it up. So let me get some light, and I'll show you what I did with this camper. Let's see. We'll change this camera around. So I made a VW bus. So it's a VW bus front with that same camper.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And then I lowered it so it's like slammed on the ground.
I like the lowered bit. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really definitely cool. Different. I like that. It's got that West Coast California look mixed with a Japanese look or German look, because the Japanese would lower their cars really low like this. So it's got a mix of all three countries.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I disappeared for a second. Sorry.
That's right. So this is.
Yeah. Anyways, that's what I did with mine.
This is the 3D print that I've done. I've done a couple of versions. That's my pacer version. So that's like
still there?
They did a whole bunch of versions. That's the pacer version. This is like the executive, and the white wall tires. And then I've got the poverty pack here. This is the poverty pack. With rubber mats and stuff. No chrome work.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've done a couple of variations of my 3D print, which I still haven't put photos on the 187 scale. But I really like the group, and I think it's really, it's quite special. One does 180 to it. But I didn't know there was actually. It's good to know that there's people across the world that are into it.
Right.
It's really good getting ideas, and I see some of their work and like, oh man, that's how I got I wondered how people do the chrome. I actually found out to get this little guy. I didn't know you can get this little guy, and I thought, man, I've tried my silver paint and he doesn't do it. But I thought,
right.
From the group, I found that. I'm like, oh, that's a great thing.
I found that pin. I found that pin 4 years ago, and I made a video about it in the group, and it didn't really catch on that fast. It struggled a long time for people to find out that there's a pin for it. And every car I did after I found that pin, I put that chrome on it. I said, I'm not using bare metal foil except for maybe super thin chrome strips, but the bumpers, the grill, everything else is going with that pin. And so I tell people that all the time. Oh, it's the chrome pin. It's the chrome pin. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, I made a whole video on it. What do you mean? What am I talking about?
Because the bare metal foil is okay if you've got flat pieces. But when you've got curved pieces, I've tried on my bumpers and it basically just falls off.
Yeah.
Like, it's so small, it doesn't work. It works.
And it'll rip too.
Exactly. So it works for that bit. That's fine. But when you try and do like curved bumpers, it's just a nightmare.
Right.
Yeah.
And you lose a lot of detail too.
Yeah. So
the bare metal foil is great for like bigger scale cars, 143rd or 132nd or 125th scale, 124th scale. It's perfect for that. But the smaller you get down, you start losing detail, and it doesn't really work that good.
Yeah, and I think I've had it for over 10. I think I've had it for about 10, 15 years. My sheet of bare metal.
I don't think that's good anymore. You need a new sheet.
Well, I keep it in the fridge. I heard it's actually good to keep it in the fridge, so I keep it in the fridge.
I never heard of that, but hey, if that keeps it good, then keep going with it. I keep mine in my room with anything. I don't know.
My I've also got a 50s layout, and I do that bit as well. But this is the 60s, but the 50s layout as well. The cars are not as interesting from a settings, because we used a lot of British cars, so we had a lot of the Morris Minors, the old Austins and stuff. So they're not as exciting. We missed out on a lot of the late model 50s that we had in. We did have the Bel Air with the bat wings. We did have those, but there wasn't many.
Yeah.
It's just hard to try and find the cars and try and that's what I found is really hard, sourcing the cars that I need, or sourcing cars that would fit my era. And the thing is now.
Well, I mean, you're in Australia, so it's not that easy to find, really.
Yeah, but even the internet, you try and find stuff. It's just try and find that ones that would that fit in my era. But then again, I can't say much, because when I saw this come out by Oxford, I thought, I've got to get one of those.
Yes.
I said, I've got to get those. Like, it's not going to fit in my era, but look, it's the same with this guy here. The CUDA. I can't.
Well, they shipped it over there because some guy came from Vietnam and said, I want to buy a muscle car. They got all the money from the war, and they said, let's go buy a muscle car, move to Australia. So there you go.
I think some else is there. So that's basically, I think you've seen the layout, but that's, basically my 70s layout. I still wish I had more real estate to put a drive in and stuff, just an excuse to put more models on, and I wouldn't mind doing an old Pizza Hut, one of those old Pizza Huts that we had, but just trying to find some real estate where to put it, because the next part's that's all trains where that bit is, and then when you go over here, this is the part where you've got the 50s part. Can you see?
Yeah, we see.
Yeah, I think I showed that one before. I made this look like one of those Oldsmobiles. This is a Sylvian resin kit that I had. Yeah. So it's still more realistic.
Good. It looks good because I mean, you went ahead and you put the telephone wires in, you put the electrical lines. A lot of people missed out on that stuff, and you didn't. So good job.
Yeah, that's a bit of work. So yeah, it's still got heaps to go. It's still got all this real estate up there to do. Yeah. See, I was when I was doing my Route 66, I collected number plates from everywhere I went. So that's for every state that I went to. There's a few cheating ones because I went to some barns that I found and I just that one looks cool. So yeah, so that's my my thing. And look, I've just to know that I'm a Buddy Holly fan. I got one of these, one of those things. It's back to front, but the Winter Dance Party poster. Nice. And there's the thing of La Bamba. Oh, yeah, this is the man cave. So yeah. What
At
else
least you're able to have a man cave.
So this is my pictures of my Route 66. I just did a montage of stuff that's 4 years ago with the mate. I wanted a higher American car, and I got one of those.
Nice.
I thought. So this. I did it for my 50th. So I thought I needed to do this, and so it was a lot of fun.
I'm glad you did it.
So there's so many other places I like to go when I go. If I go, well, go back to if possible to travel again. But just there's in the States. I want to do the wood. What's it called? The cruise that's in Chicago. Is it Chicago? Detroit. That one.
There's a lot of cruises throughout the whole country. I don't know.
Those things. Yeah. There's this. There's so many. Haven't been to Detroit just to see the Ford Museum and all that stuff, and go to see where Buddy Holly died.
There's a major car show out here that runs a couple of them, like throughout the whole summer. It's called the Good Guy Show. It's one of the biggest car shows in the country, and they'll go like to 5 or 6 or 7 different states, like every 2 weeks. And some people are crazy enough to go to each show. They'll travel with the car show, and they'll drive their car all over this country to all these different states. And I would love to do that. I would love it. It may never happen, but I would love it.
Yeah. I think it's similar to when I did my Route 66 trip and I was going to all the car shows. I was trying to find an Edsel, and I didn't find. I think I only found one, but it was it was Bulldoze thing. But I wanted to see an Edsel, and I didn't actually see one. Even at Peterson, I asked the guy. I said, "Where?" They said, "Oh, it's in storage." And I've got to see an Edsel.
Right.
That was just disappointing.
I'll tell you, they're nice cars, but they're not nearly as many of them as you might think. You're like a Mustang or a Corvette or the Bel Airs, Cadillacs, they're everywhere. But Edsels, there's a lot out there, but they're scattered. They're not all in the same place, so it's hard to see those. And when you see it, you know it right away. You're like, oh, there's an Edsel.
Yeah.
But that's neat. That's neat that you were able to go to all those shows and travel Route 66, the most famous road in all of America. I'm happy for you. That's great.
Yeah, that was really good. That was so I'm glad I did that at the time.
Yeah, well, you can still remember it, and you still have like all the great memories that you can keep in your head until we all get too old and start losing those memories. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think that's it. But yeah, I like the forum. The group gets good ideas, and it's just trying to use those ideas and put them into use it in my things. What I like about the group as well is that everyone's got their own little someone likes trucks and they just get stuck into it or get stuck into, and you like, you do your lowriders and stuff, and they're like,
yeah,
it's just really good how people have got their own little niches, and just
right.
work on that, and it's
It's
good.
definitely cool that you see that, because when I first got into this hobby, this scale hobby, nobody was doing what I was doing.
Yep.
And now there's a little couple of people, trying to try it out and do it, and they like doing it or whatever. And it's cool because I'm not really a truck guy, like commercial truck. I don't really care for them. I understand them. I get what they're used for, but that's not my thing. And that's all people were building back when I first joined this group. And I'm just glad that I was able to show these people, hey, you can build other things than trucks. They don't have to just be trucks.
Yeah, exactly. So the truck thing, I like the trucks if they see. I don't like a whole bunch of trucks. It's like cranes, or I'm not interested in the cranes and stuff either. So it's just like,
Yeah, I'm not either. I'll tell you what, I talked to Robert Kelly. He is a young, early 20s or mid 20s kid, and he does cranes, and his job is to deliver these cranes to different construction sites. So I see why he builds them, but I don't care for cranes at all. They don't do nothing for me. But listening to his story and his passion for the building, I started liking him just because of his talking. I still don't like him right now, but just I like listening to him talk about him. It was very fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well,
I think, unless there's any other questions, yeah.
I mean, I think your layout's pretty cool. You got really good stuff, and I really like that that you're all the way in Australia, and I don't know anybody in Australia, but you know, and that you're building what we're building. 187 scale. You get your city behind you, and it looks really good. And I'm just glad that I know somebody in Australia that's doing the same thing we're doing out here.
I go to crane shows, and I hardly find anyone who's doing the same. Who are they're interested in trains, which is fine. Interested in trains, but they're not interested in getting the detail of the cars right, or they just, they might buy the off-the-shelf ones, and they'll look the same. Okay, this is a it's off the shelf, which is fine, but I don't see anyone doing customized ones. I've seen some, but that's just once or not one. Yeah, so that's the one thing that the 87 group is really good, because there is. I don't have any other people in Australia that I know that does this,
There's a group I'm part of. I'm going to show you this group. Hold on. It's called the 187th Cars, Trucks, and Equipment Group. And I think this group is mainly in Australia. I can't remember exactly where they're from, but I think it's Australia. These guys are really cool. So this is the cover page.
Maybe.
Yeah, that guy he passed away a couple years ago, but he was the main guy running this, and he loved my cars. He loved all the customs I would post on his group. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, these guys are mostly in Australia. So
maybe you can. I think you can suggest me on the group.
Yeah. I'll do that because you guys are nice.
Yeah, I think you can suggest me. Oh yeah, I want to show you my glasses.
Yeah, I'll do that, because if you're in Australia, it's good to be an Australian group too.
Here's my Buddy Holly glasses. I just want to show you, because I actually got them prescription.
Nice.
So yeah, I've got another pair of Ray-Ban, the Ray-Ban Clubmasters as well. But if I wanted to go as a nerd, I just go like that. But
right.
Yeah.
You put the little tape in between, because the tape is for like.
the little tape
like the
there.
Revenge of the Nerds movie. That's what made that tape famous.
I should do that. I'll do that for the next show. I'd never thought of that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah. Now you just need to get your curly hair like Buddy Holly did.
Well, I'm growing it. I mean, I'm losing hair because I'm getting older, but I'm just gonna go, just try and puff it up. Yeah.
Yeah, do like a pompadour, like like Richie Valens' hair.
Well, I did get a present from my sister-in-law for a photo shoot with this lady who does 50s photos.
Oh, nice.
And she styled my hair. She must have spent 45 minutes greasing it up. And I said to her, I don't want to wash my hair. I want to keep it. I want to keep it forever because I need to get to it.
Yeah.
I post that, but I got photo shoots of that. And I'm like, I just wanted that. I did get that as a present. It was really good.
That's cool. I married a lady who's a hairstylist, and I keep my head shaved because I don't like having to comb my hair every day. But when I did have hair, she would cut my hair to where I would have like a 50s pompadour haircut every day. It spent like 20 minutes making sure it looked good every day, and I just got tired of doing all that work. And every 2 weeks you had to get the haircut again because then it'd get too long and you couldn't do the hairdo that well. So I was like, this is too much work. Let me just shave my head. And so I just shave my head now. I don't have that pompadour, but I love that pompadour. It pulled off the whole 50s look perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But one last thing I was going to tell you, I saw online, this happened 6 years ago now, September, October, August? Whenever the Back to the Future anniversary was for the original movie,
yes,
Australia had a huge, and I mean a huge event for this movie. And they had it it looked like it was a drive-in, but I don't know if you guys have drive-in movie theaters out there. But it looked
we do have drive-in.
Yes, okay. They had it at a drive-in movie theater, and they had all the 50s cars from the movie come out, and they had the people dressed up as every character. It was a huge event, and I saw this YouTube video. It was like an hour and a half, and you had the parade of cars going through, and then all the people dressed in the 50s. I wish I was part of that. It looks so cool.
Well, that's one of my favorite movies, and Pleasantville. So Pleasantville.
Oh, that's a good one too.
And Back to the Future are probably my favorite two movies. I mean, Star Wars and all that as well, but they're the two favorite movies. Because if I had a time machine,
if we all had a time machine,
I would go back 50s, irrespective of the fact that people were, weren't good to minorities, you're smoking and all the other things, but I'm just talking about the good bits.
No, that's my time era too. You and me, we share the same because I know I was born in the wrong decade. I'm 40. I'm 41.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I should have been born in the 30s, had my childhood in the 40s, and my teenage years in the 50s. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, so my favorite era is the 50s, and then the 70s, but I like the music of the 80s. So I was teenager with the 80s. Not too flash hot with the cars, but just the music of the 80s. So they're my three favorite eras. The cars suck, exactly. But just the music, I just remember listening to the music and So
the big hairdos with the long hair, like 80s hair bands.
Oh no! See the fashion there. I just not like. So the 70s I like. Even the fashion it's just way off the top. But that's cool. I could wear a safari suit or put sideburns and stuff. But with bell bottoms, that's fine. But the 80s just like what would not go.
They went crazy in the 80s.
So.
But right on, man. this is a pleasure talking to you. I'm very happy that we finally got to do this, and I really enjoy seeing your layout. I really like the fact that you're way over there on the other side of the world, and you're doing the same thing we're doing, and you have the same passion for it, which is the greatest thing of ever. So I appreciate you wanting to be on the show, and yeah, this was a good episode. I like talking to you.
Thanks, Sam. I thanks for asking me, and it's just really good to talk about my passion of cars, 50s, and modeling.
Yeah.
So all that stuff. I
Awesome.
love. Thanks for letting me chat about that, because not many people appreciate those things.
And
Even my
that's
daughter
why I
thinks
enjoy
it's
talking to you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I'll sign off this episode, and then we can say our goodbye. So hold on real quick, and I'll just end this episode. So, for all you guys watching and listening, I've logged into his Facebook page. He's got a gallery or an album of a beach scene that he did. I'm gonna show you guys some of his models that he's posted on his Facebook page.
So I've actually got a blog. So I've actually got a blog as well.
Oh, well, send that blog to me in the messenger, and I'll link that in the description. And I'll also link his Facebook page in there. And if you guys want to know more about Grant, you can check him out and message him and whatever. But till next episode, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You guys all have a great day. All right, so that was Grant. I'll have a link to his page down in the description, but at the same time, you can kind of see what his page looks like, his profile page. I'll pull that up on the computer. He's a pretty cool guy. He seems to be a car guy, definitely, which is what most of us are for modeling in the model car world. So that's his Facebook page there. You can see he's standing with his wife in front of a classic car. Looks like a 65 Mustang. But I'll have this page linked in the description. That way you guys can check him out. And then stay tuned right after this. I'm going to do a slideshow of his diorama of his beach. He's got a beach. Let me show you what I'm talking about. He's got this if I can turn this camera around. He's got this beach right here, so I'm gonna do a slideshow of all 21 of those photos for you. So stay tuned if you want to see them, because they're pretty cool. I've already looked through them. They're very detailed. He's a really good modeler. I enjoyed talking to him. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to him. It was a little hard. I think the time difference, I think he's 13, 14 hours ahead of us. So this is Monday. He's already in the morning time of Tuesday. So I think that was probably what was the delay in the voice going back and forth talking. But I mean, overall, he's a car guy. He's a cool guy, and hopefully he can come out to the States to one of our shows, and we can meet him in person, because I enjoyed talking to him. He was pretty cool. But don't forget, Patreon link is in the description as well as all his information. And until next episode, you guys stay well, stay nice, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.